Once upon a time in our workshop a very special package arrived. We used the Dr. Pepper can to open it up and found out it contained something long awaited. It is finally time, ladies and gentlemen, to show you guys something you didn't know you wanted to know. Because today you'll be witnessing how to speedrun a fixie build. Or single speed if you really want to. Without any further ado, let's get straight to the build. Today's victim is gonna be this Gazelle Tourmalet. First, we try to remove the crank by using this crank puller. Especially on old bikes like this, that have not been taken apart for multiple decades, the crank and the bottom bracket can really become inseparable. This meant that we first carefully tried, but because this is a speedrun and we are trying to rebuild this fixed gear in one evening, we swiftly proceeded to more drastic measures. Using some penetrating oil is fine, but in retrospect, using this much WD-40 in an uncontrolled way reduced the friction between the crank puller's external thread and the crank's internal thread. Inevitably, with the next try, we therefore sheared off the crank's thread, leaving the crank puller useless. There was only one option left: the angle grinder. Although this soundtrack suggests differently, this was quite a delicate bit of work. By no means I was allowed to touch the bottom bracket axle, but still had to cut away enough of the crank to get it off. Alright, time for a bit less aggressive work, and maybe some better background music too. Considering the age of this bike, these parts all looked very good. This would definitely speed up the rebuild later on. Our friend Mr. Angle Grinder made his second appearance almost immediately, when we removed all sticking out bits of the frame and fork that we didn't need anymore, like derailleur, holders and stuff like that. That looks alright for now, mate. In order to give this bike a fresh appearance, we had ordered a bunch of stuff, like tires, a backup bottom bracket, a saddle, new cranks, a chain, wheels, pre-spoked, you could call this a speedrun cheat, but I prefer the term strategic investment, and some quick drying primer, paint and clear coating. After removing everything off the frame, it was time to sand the frame down, but only the parts that we were planning to respray. This weird whiteboard marker stuff really cleans everything, and with everything I mean everything. I wouldn't be surprised if this stuff actually is some snake venom or some shit. And now it was time for the main event of the evening, the spraying. It would also take up the most time, so we had some tasks planned in the meantime. That looks stunning. This red, purple, sparkly paint will allow the white details to really stand out. Great stuff. Allow me some time for a short message from me to you guys. I'm really happy with you guys. You literally lifted this channel from 30 subs to 2500 subs in only a few weeks. And that only because of one video. We had a 2.5k sub special planned, but instead we will give you the joy of watching some stickers being sticked on things. Don't tell anyone we hide our inner tubes in this ammo box, please. While the paint was drying, we set to check out what we actually had received in the mystery box. And by the looks of it, it was a set of full white flip-flop hub high-rimmed wheels. Just lovely. Hoodie Man then proceeded to put the tires on. The paint in the meantime had dried till the point where we could overspray it with some clear coating, so we set to that task too. Removing the masking bits and coating the entire frame too makes the finish somewhat more uniform. This finally brought us to the point where the rebuild could begin. A few hours in and hopefully only 1 or 2 hours away from finalizing this bike. We decided to use the backup bottom bracket over the original one, so that meant my careful angle grinding work was for nothing. Speedrun strats ruined, but still going strong. This super specific socket shape is used to tighten the bottom bracket. And the fork and its bearing system. Make sure to always grease that stuff up, man. Cap this assembly off with this cap. Or maybe this cap, you know, or this cap. There's a lot of caps to choose from, and in the end we chose this cap. By now there were a lot of small parts that needed some attention. For example, this bolt. We gave the most rusty ones a good sanding sesh and replaced some others. This aluminium stem really came back to life after polishing the baddest markings away. Look at it shine. An important thing to note is that it is sort of a requirement to have horizontal dropouts for the rear wheel. This is because the only way to tension your chain is by moving the rear wheel horizontally away from the bottom bracket. This is all coming together lovely. I really like the contrast of the dark red base color with the white accents. Now that's what I call a shiny blade. Let's bolt it on. When you want to put a chain on, a beginner's mistake is to have the wheel all the way back in a dropout. Make sure to bring it forward a bit before cutting the chain to length and closing it up. If you are using a new chain like we did here, you can use the special closing chain like shown here. But if you are using an old chain, you can simply use the chain tool to close the loop. I even did it with a hammer a few times, but that really requires some special hammering skills. With the driveline done, we moved on to the final bits of the build. We were now just under 4 hours in, including waiting for the paint to dry. Most of the non-waiting time went into sanding down the frame. This is shaping up to become a very nice build. Simple but effective, I would say. It is a bit less crazy than what we normally do, but it is elegant in its simplicity. Now for the part that hurt my heart quite a bit, adding a brake. I myself learned riding a fixed gear with a front brake, but the most minimalist way is to go brakeless. Then you really have to become one with your bike. Anyway, the brake was slapped on. To secure a brake cable cap in place, gently pinch it with some pliers. Don't overdo this, I have snapped through these caps quite a bit in my time. Adjusting the brake pads and checking all the bolts one more time, and we finished this build. It took around 5 hours and therefore our goal of completing it in one evening was reached. Happy times! We celebrated this with a Dr. Pepper and the next day we gave it a spin. Enjoy the result, guys! That is all for today, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you feel inspired and motivated to go and build yourself your dream bike too now. It really doesn't have to be a long process. One evening can be enough. If you liked what you saw, consider leaving a like or even subscribe if you really feel like it. Would help us out a lot. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.